Welcome to our Unfiltered LinkedIn Live. I am joined by Fabrizio. Welcome, Fabrizio. I'm just going to call you Fab, but welcome.
Thanks, Kelsey. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, it's great to see you again after quite a few months since we were last in the trenches working together, day in and day out.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to hear more about what you've been up to.
Yeah, and as you, I hear there's some exciting things that have been happening. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. I know there's some exciting things in the pipeline, so we're keen to hear more about it before we get into all of the AI hype that we're going to be talking about. So yeah, what have you been up to?
Super. Well, so my name is Fabrizio. So I'm from Brazil originally, but I've been in the UK for 20 years, and I've been working with technology all this time. I was until recently at Lamb Chocolate, which is UK's largest venture builder. We're building lots of
That's where
products.
we met.
AI. That's where we met. That's where we launched products together. That's where we had a lot of fun. And been in the trenches there, creating products and obviously exploring a lot of AI. I left BC early this year and did a bit of consulting work, a bit of speaking, and I will be joining later this week. Actually, I'll be joining a large global consultancy, joining their AI architecture team. So yeah, hopefully some really cool, interesting projects down the line to keep us busy.
Yeah, some exciting things. I can't wait to hear more about it. But to kick us off as we get going, I'm going to do what I love to do in this Unfiltered LinkedIn Live, and that's a little bit of a this or that. But today we're going to call it Fab. See what we did there? Or Fad.
Perfect.
So you can
Great.
tell me these AI tools if you think they're fab or if they're fad.
Great. That's my best opinion at the moment. It's very hard to predict the future, but let's give it a crack. Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, with these, it's really something we can only do today. Tomorrow might be different. But I'm going to
Exactly.
kick it off with Grok.
All right. I think Grok is definitely fab. It's one of the foundational models. So there's so much that is going to be built on top of it, and I'm
Mm,
pretty sure some of those solutions would deliver a lot of value.
totally agree. Next, Blaze AI.
Lazy AI is a bit of a question mark. It's hard to tell. There's so many tools being built, and particularly around this kind of marketing and media. I would risk it might be a fad. It's a really crowded market and really challenging.
Yep. Manus. That one is always like the how you say it can never get right. But what are your thoughts around that?
Manus AI, I'm very close to that tool. I've been using it. I've been testing it from the early days. I was lucky enough to get early access to it. I met the team here in London recently.
Amazing.
It's a really fascinating tool. I use it almost every day. I was using it today earlier. I think it's definitely a fab tool, and I'm coming from a point of, does it add value? Does it create value for me as a user or for
Mm,
the people that want to use it? And definitely is one of the best tools that we've seen so far.
amazing. That one's like a double fab. What
Yeah,
about Granola AI?
there's so many of these tools that are
Mm,
kind of meeting bots and note takers. It's one to be seen. I think there's a big risk for startups operating in that space to compete with the likes of Microsoft and Google with their teams and their niche
yeah.
solutions. So, jury's out. I'll put in the fad category.
Okay. Replit?
Rapid is another tool that I love. I was using it earlier today. I use it almost every
Fab,
day.
fab, fab.
Super fab. Yeah, I've tested a few of these coding tools, and obviously I come from a technical background, and
Yeah.
I ran development teams before, engineering teams before. The Replit they've been doing a really good job of evolving the tool as we use it and experiment, and I'm really impressed with what it's done.
Okay. Lovable. Lovable.
Loveable is well similar to Replit. We use it during the Hive times. It was one of the times that the product's been locked. And it's actually one of the European champions. It's made in Sweden. Loveable
Yeah.
is one of the big, fast-growing coding tools out there. I think it's a fab tool as well.
And last one is Jasper
Jasper, yeah, Jasper is interesting because it was one of the fastest-growing tools right at the start of this
at the
kind of AI
beginning.
revolution. Yeah, I think they started I think they started developing their tool before the bigger models that OpenAI launched, and the ChatGPT kind of model.
Mm,
They were doing very well. It seems that they've kind of stagnated a bit. There's a lot of
yeah.
competitors coming into play. Again, it's a very crowded market, so it could be one of the ones that get hit by all the other innovation and noise coming around. So it's a bit challenging for them, I think.
Yeah. But you know what? I love what you're saying and talking about this AI revolution. There are so many tools, and I find at the moment, especially, let's say for me as a founder, yes, I'm in marketing, but there are all these tools that are kind of thrown at you. Everyone's like, you have to adopt AI. Totally get that, on board for it. But it is difficult to always know what is going to be a great tool and why you should actually implement it, and what is actually just that same old fluff that gets added to everything. So if we're looking at the AI revolution as a whole, again, I said to you initially, like, I'm not the biggest like technical person, and I'm fine to say that. But I want to actually understand it and understand part of what this kind of, like, if we had to, kind of insert ourselves into our current context. And I'll talk a little bit about South Africa in a bit, but talk to me a little bit about the AI revolution. And I
Right.
know that's such a ChatGPT word, but and where we're actually at now, what are you seeing? What are some things that as a founder, business owner, I can be aware of?
Okay, great. Well, let's unpick that. There's quite a lot in that.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that everybody agrees today, and maybe a couple of years ago, there were a lot of people scratching their heads and thinking, is this another overall fad? Is this another hype? And we're not going to get anything out of it. I think what everybody agrees today is that this is a transformational period in global history, right? That
Yeah.
there is very little doubt. Also because we're starting to see the value creation that's coming from AI, and
Mm,
particularly generative AI, which is this more recent stream of AI solutions that have been developed. So everybody agrees that there's something big happening. Why is that? Well, in every technological revolution we see across the world, across the history of mankind, you know that change is big when it creates a very deep advantage almost overnight. So if you look
mm,
back when we created mechanical power, when we created portable mechanical power like petrol and electricity engines and stuff, so the world starts to shift. The whole way we built the world starts to shift because now
mm,
we have kind of freed ourselves from the shackles that existed before. And what is this revolution right now? Is about portable intelligence. So
mm.
for the first time in history, in the same way that we harnessed mechanical power before and we made it portable, we now have portable intelligence. That means the way we do things will change dramatically. And
Yeah.
when we're looking at tools, I think the first thing I always tell people is don't pick a tool because everybody's talking about it. Understand what you're doing today and what is a problem in your operation. What is a problem in your workflow? And maybe
Mm,
not a problem as in we can't do it, but a problem as in, well, I need a week to create a campaign, but my client wants in 2 days. So that is a problem because your
yeah.
competitor might be offering that time, that quick turnaround time for them. So if my competitor starts doing in 2 days in one day, I'm going to be left behind.
Yeah.
I was speaking to an audience of Brazilian business people a couple of months ago in Brazil, and one of the things that I mentioned was, if you have reviewed all your processes, maybe you did a transformation program 2 years ago in your business. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that your
It's,
processes are outdated now
yeah.
because
It's
you
not going to
did
cut
it
it now.
exactly because you did it with the best technology available at that time, which has now shifted massively. So
Yeah.
we're at this inflection point where we need to think about our problems in a world that's to do things 100 times faster, sometimes 1,000 times faster.
Yeah.
And
It's the speed
there's a
to, oof.
it's the speed to execution. And
Mm,
there's a little acronym that I use, and I don't remember who came up with this. It wasn't me, but we call it words, numbers, and images. So anything that contains words or numbers or images, AI can do. So any
mm,
task that involves assessing, analyzing, transforming, creating, summarizing any one of these kind of elements, and video now, um,
yeah.
it's doable with AI. So you need to start getting creative and innovative about how you want to deliver things today.
I think that is really interesting. And I think to kind of in speaking about that, the speed to execution is a big thing, right? One of the things we constantly talk about is how good a almost like can a chat GPT strategy stand? And let's just go there because that's
Mm.
probably the common
Okay.
one. Marketing strategy stand, and for how long? Because part of me feels like the same strategies that people were creating on ChatGPT last year, they're still expecting to use this year in a way.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, like things change and evolve so rapidly that it is a case of like, are we saying that that's going to be something we can do for the foreseeable future, or where does the human input come? And what role do you play in actually saying, well, I'm using a tool, but it's genuinely valuable. You know, it's solving a problem, but it's not just another tool in a sense.
Yeah. So there's time and quality, right? So what you're talking about there, there are two
Mm,
things when you're reviewing. Let's think about again. Think about a process that you do today. Let's say the creation of a marketing campaign. Let's say the
mm,
creation of a strategy. Let's say the quarterly review of your accounts and to help you
yes.
find your next quarter strategy. There is the time, the speed to do things that got a lot faster. And sometimes it's not that it's faster; it's it becomes doable. So
Mm,
there's if it's something that you're already doing that requires a level of quality, then obviously quality is going to be much more important.
yeah,
Okay, so
but when it's
if
time.
if everybody, yeah, if everybody was already doing, let's say, if everybody's already doing their sales plan, asking ChatGPT to do it for you is just going to give you an average and probably mediocre strategy
Yeah,
because you remember you're competing against other players in the market. But there are cases where you are not doing it at all because you just didn't have the time to do it or the resource to do it.
mm,
And suddenly something is better than nothing.
yeah,
So if you look at the things that you need to do that are not core to your value creation, to your strategy, I would say outsource it. If you're not doing it, outsource it. It's better to do something with ChatGPT than not.
yeah,
But
then just to leave it.
where you create differentiation is where you want to put the human and AI collaboration. Because again, that strategy is a starting point. So
Mm,
your brain starts to work from that point onwards rather than starting from zero. That makes
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. So it's almost like I think I like the way you're talking about it almost in like levels and realizing that I think so often people almost want to copy and paste, or it's like it's that cookie cutter mold of like this is
Yeah,
how things go. But actually realizing that in different stages, in different phases, with different teams, actually AI plays a different role. And it can just be the entry level starting point that's going to help a business owner just go one level up. But again, like the reliability, ongoing growth, that's important to be able to see where you actually want to move to and what growth looks like. And again, like I think for a lot of, let's call it the AI hype, it is around what grabs people's attention, sometimes more than what actually adds value. You know, it's like
exactly.
to your point, some of the tools we've spoken about are like, I don't actually know if that's going to be a long-term solution
Yeah.
because I think, and maybe you can just speak to this, but how do you not fall into just that like content overload? where you think, oh, we need absolutely everything. You're spending a ton of money on your tech stack, let's call it, but you're actually
Yeah,
just, oh, we need all of this. We have to do all of this. And it's like, but do
yeah.
you really, like, how do you sit and go, okay, this is actually going to add value? What are the best lenses to kind of put on and go, this is not just something that has my attention, but it's actually going to add value?
So I think we all fell prey to that at the beginning, right? We're trying
Yeah.
to sort of keep up with all the different tools. I actually I created a little AI podcast in 2023, which was a bit of a side project just to test technologies, where I was like basically searching the internet for news on AI to try and keep up with everything that was being launched every day. You can't win that race.
Yeah.
You just can't.
The treadmill is
And
too fast.
it's too fast, and there are people out there doing that. There's lots of there's influencers. There's obviously the specialized media. They're sort of going through all these tools and testing all these tools. As you said, there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of noise that comes with it.
Mm,
We don't know which of these tools will survive or not. So what I do is I start with the problem. If I'm doing, for example, um, if I need to do some planning or projects or research, I will look for a tool that helped me do that. And then
mm,
I found Manus. So Manus works really well for that. I learn how to use it. I learn how to instruct it. I learn how to make the most out of that tool. And that's one of my favorite tools today that I use, almost on a daily basis. The same thing for coding. There's lots of tools for coding. You can try lots of them, but if you use one of them better, it's better than
mm.
using whichever is the best of them, right? So you have to commit to a tool that you need, not just learn it for the sake of it.
Yeah, that's so
I'll give you
good.
another example. We've got a group of Brazilians, an AI kind of WhatsApp group of Brazilian experts and enthusiasts. And there's one guy there, Antonio, who is, he was an actor. He worked in the movie industry, in production, and all that kind of stuff. So he's very interested in video. That's very close to his industry, his expertise.
Mm,
So he's been exploring VO3 and Flux and all the different image generation and video generation tools and so on. And he's kind of our expert for that. But because he's in that sector, he
mm.
can extract and explore and identify what's best much easier than we can.
Yes.
I don't have that need today, so I've deliberately stayed away from going too deep into those tools because what is the problem I'm going to solve? I don't have a problem to solve today that involves that,
Yes.
right?
I think,
So
yeah.
start with the problem, and then you look for the options you have, and then I would normally look at things like what's their level of funding, what's their infrastructure, how close are they to solutions that might be built by big tech. So anything that I see Google, Microsoft, Meta are building, it's probably going to have a harder time
Mm.
staying alive in the market. So just keeping an eye on those things as well.
So you've obviously spoken a lot about Brazil. Rebecca actually is on her way to Brazil as we speak, so she is off to that side for a little while. But we also, I mean, we were walking yesterday, and I was like, if I look at South Africa, it is actually the adoption of AI and tech in general. I mean, we'll say like from a schooling point, even, is really not advanced. So we're sitting in a place where obviously we work internationally, so it's a bit different, and we've been given opportunity through that. Our worlds are bigger because of it. But South Africa, looking at it, it's slow in adoption. I think even gaining the trust of different platforms. I mean, like I'll say, ChatGPT is popular, but again, not being used to its full capacity, not being used to
Right.
necessarily like build well. um Brazil, the context is a little different, and I know Brazil is actually quite far along and technical, but what do you say to talk into a context that is like South Africa, where it's like adoption is slow? How does a founder maybe get ahead? Just asking for a friend. um like how do you
um,
actually in different contexts encourage it in a way, try and work with the uncertainty, but also make sure that like companies are actually growing to the future?
it's interesting, right? Because there is a commitment to technology that
Mm,
sometimes um, sets you on a path, and it means it takes longer to change course. I think Brazil, South Africa, some other developing countries are actually in many ways they have certain advantages because they haven't committed to certain
mm,
technologies so deeply, and you can reinvent your processes. Again, with this kind of big technological shift that we see right like right now,
mm.
we're going to be reinventing the world. And the less you're committed to the old world, the
The
less you need
better.
to undo to
Yeah.
start creating the new. So you're probably well familiar with the story about the mobile banking in Africa that took off much quicker than in the developed world because well there wasn't the whole network of ATMs and bank
Yeah,
agencies and everywhere
infrastructure.
and infrastructure. Okay,
Mm,
so it's kind of a similar um, trend that we can see here. Brazil is very quick to adopt new technologies, right? Very
mm.
tech savvy, but they're slow to invest on the kind of the next layer. So
Okay.
the kind of free tools like WhatsApp and ChatGPT and so on, it spreads like wildfire. Everybody jumps on it. Everybody starts using it. But there are some peculiarities and there's some things that are specific to the culture or the country or the circumstances of the people living
Yeah.
in the country. And I think AI is probably the most democratizing technology that ever came about because there is an element of communication with the user that didn't exist before. It's like
Mm,
ChatGPT. You can ask,
yeah.
how can I generate a prompt to do this and that? And ChatGPT will help you build a prompt. And then you can use the
Mm,
prompt itself in ChatGPT. So you can sort of, you can talk to the tools, which is something that didn't exist before. So that unlocks creativity or the execution of creativity for people all over the world. You don't need
mm.
to go to a university and study, computer science stuff to create an app anymore, to create
Yes.
a software application anymore. You can learn by interacting with a tool and then just solve the problem that you have.
Mm,
In Brazil, we have one of the. It's actually in the region I'm from. Is one of the big agricultural um, hubs in the world. So if you're building solutions for agriculture, you have a much better chance of getting it right over there than in the
mm.
UK. If you're
Yeah, makes total
building
sense.
right, so the
Yeah.
problems are regional. The reality is regional, and the tool is now closer to us than it was before. I
Mm,
think it's then just like really applying, exploring some of those solutions to the problems, and is where I think human creativity is going to thrive more and more. So it's a great time to be an entrepreneur. It's a great time to be a business owner. It's a great time to try and experiment building new products.
yeah, I mean, and I think to your point, it is, I love the thought of actually going the context and developing South Africa's, it doesn't actually discount you because sometimes I think it's like, oh, they're so slow to adopt and all of that. But actually, and I said something similar, it's like, if we can just learn everything that actually works and see these things as they're going, almost like don't take on the learn from the things along the way. It's like I almost feel like we could be better off because you don't have that like the baggage of having to go through learning all of those things. So I do love that actually it is an opportunity to actually go ahead. Same thing like speaking to the context that you're in. It does make me think like what are some of the things in South Africa that actually like we haven't seen the opportunity for because we're not looking at the regional things. um and to my point earlier, even looking at education, it's like, hey, like, and maybe I don't know if this is something you've thought of, but in how like tech, AI, everything kind of like infiltrates into education systems, like what that looks like for the future. Because it is something I think about a lot, but I can't actually pinpoint what it'll look like. So I don't know if you have some predictions or what you think.
So education is an interesting topic because we've developed an educational methodology probably 200 years ago, and we're still using the same
Exactly.
thing, right?
Exactly.
We have so much technology, and yes, we introduced computers in the classroom, and we introduced but we still run a lot of things the way we've been doing for almost 200 years.
It's almost like
What happened?
using technology. Sorry, using technology doesn't mean that there's like tech advancement. Do you know what I mean? It's like a
Exactly,
computer is
exactly.
one thing, but it
Yeah,
doesn't actually mean that there's
it's
advancement.
it's not bolting on something new into the old, and this is what we've been seeing with AI. Uh, a lot of people are trying to just do the same thing they're doing, but with AI.
Mm,
When I'm doing projects with clients, or sort of talking to businesses, I will look at their operating model and say, okay, what is the context you need to deliver? What is the result that you're trying to deliver? And what is the context you need to deliver that result? And then let's start from scratch and start thinking about the result that you want to achieve and where the information comes from and what are the different ways that we can deliver that. So it's innovation. And I've been telling people that we should probably spend more time thinking about innovation than AI, because it's the
yes.
process of innovation that will get us to that new world faster, that will get us to those new solutions faster. Right? One thing that I was hearing you talk about, in South Africa, the context and everything. I think we can now revisit so many problems that we got stuck with in the past because now they're possible.
Yes.
And we might think, well, okay, that can't be done, and I'm not going to revisit that. Well, you can, because
Yeah.
you can create things a lot faster, a lot quicker now.
Yeah. So it's not, it is almost like there's more opportunity than not when you look at it.
100%. There's so many
Um,
opportunities.
which actually in a way is like it's really cool for us because it is like, well, you know what, we're working with opportunity and that's actually more than what you're getting elsewhere. It's not already
Yeah,
set up, the infrastructures aren't necessarily there.
and all regulations are more flexible. Um, there is there are lots of pros against other more developed economies, and vice versa. So what we also see now is like every country starts to think about their own AI strategy, because AI is going to become, which was already becoming, a sovereignty
Mm,
topic, an issue. If you don't have um, infrastructure, knowledge, uh, you know, subject matter expertise, you're going to be dependent on other countries for something
mm,
that's going to be so crucial to your society. In the same way that we are dependent on energy, so some countries are dependent on energy from other countries, and
yeah.
they become in a vulnerable position for that, and so on and so forth. So I think is another thing that is going to be there in those strategic imperatives for any country to drive, which
Mm,
again creates more opportunities for innovators who want to say, hey, let's change the way we do education, shall we?
yeah.
Let's change the way that we deliver public services. Let's rethink the way that we deliver healthcare, for example.
Yeah.
There's so much to be changed now.
So and yeah, and like it can actually better things for the future. It's not necessarily a, oh, AI is going to come in and just take everyone's jobs. It is actually like, no, actually, it's going to better the future that we are actually moving towards. Um, I think talking a little bit about where you find yourself, and kind of like now, okay, let's say you're moving into a new role. What are some things or advice that you would give to someone who maybe feels unsure or behind? So maybe there's someone watching and they're like, "Ah, I feel behind." What is the best advice that you could give them?
Okay. So the first thing is, if you feel behind, you're probably not too far behind, or maybe you're not even behind. Everybody's kind of on the same boat. I mean, we worked in startups, didn't we, Kelsey? And things look a lot shinier from the outside than they do from the inside. So
Yes.
just take everything with a pinch of salt, because that helps you calm down, and then start go back to the things that you're more familiar with. Go back to the problems you're more familiar with. If you're a marketing person, what is your trade? Is to engage users and get users to
Mm,
um, love a brand or buy from a brand, and go back to the problem and then think about, okay, how do I make this happen, and what are the tools that I can use, and then start playing with the tools. So many of these tools, they offer free tiers, and you can sort of go and explore them, and then even then they're not too expensive. Once you start to sort of use a bit
mm,
more, you can with a 20-50 dollars, you can sort of get quite a lot of tools and start experimenting if it's something that you start to see value in. So
mm,
I would say is learn how to use the tool, because it's going to be the new way of doing things. I wouldn't get into the, oh, AI is going to take our jobs, and I'm not going to have any, because humans are so adaptable. I
mm.
always use the example of accountants, for example. Accountants existed for, I think, 8,000 years. It was one of the first professions that started in Babylon, I
Yeah.
think, and they were using clay, and they were using this kind of big warehouses to store bushes. And today they use spreadsheets, and they're moving into other tools, financial planning tools that use AI and so on. But the value they deliver has remained the same.
Mm,
So there's different tool sets. There are different tool sets to help you achieve a goal that is needed in society. That's why jobs are not going to disappear, because we need to deliver
mm,
those results. And the more we deliver, the more people want, the more comfort people want. So we're going to create lots
mm.
of new markets. And
Yeah.
that's where I think people haven't clocked in. They're trying to do what we were doing before with these new tools, but we haven't seen a lot of innovators realizing that, hey, there's a new market here. There's something new that we
Mm.
could be doing, and we can create value, and people are going to love it.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, I think what you're getting is it, or what I'm hearing is that it's coming down to what problem are you trying to solve? Because at the end of the day, it's like, where's the problem, and how is AI actually going to help you solve the problem that you have? And then what's the kind of value it's going to add? Because I think it is kind of those two things. Just in hearing what you have to say, that is like, okay, let's get to the basis of like, what is the problem, and how is it actually going to add value by actually adopting AI into that space, or however it might be.
Exactly. Yeah. Always start with the product, and this has always been in technology. It's always been a mantra.
Mm,
It's always been the best way to build the best products. It's like, what is the problem that you're solving? What is the value that you're creating? Is the problem big enough that people are willing to pay for? And then you create a solution on top of that,
mm.
right? And then and
Which is
then
like
use,
marketing.
which is, yeah, which is and the great thing
It's
about
so
marketing
similar.
is you are effectively an innovation agency, right? Because you're innovating
Yeah.
every day. Every time you're creating a campaign, you're creating a brand narrative, you're creating a
Yeah.
website, you're creating a landing page, you're innovating. So it's
Yeah.
the innovation process that is the most useful thing to understand right now. And that means being able to distance yourself from how you do it today.
Mm,
Just take the learnings from what is the value that you create, and what are the points that create that value in that value chain, in that work stream, and
mm.
then rethink it, and just like, start with a blank canvas, do a bit of brainstorming. You can brainstorm with these tools, you can brainstorm with DeepSeek, with ChatGPT, with Gemini,
Yes.
and you can do it a lot faster. You just like have an
A
idea, just
lot.
sit there in front of your computer, and just get it done.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go back like 3 or 6 months even, and it's like it's drastically different. It's almost like and we joke because Rebecca and I change things a lot. And our team are better for it, but they definitely, I think sometimes it's just like, hey, can we just have, but it is like from 3 months to 6 months, you go back a year ago, and it's almost like it's unrecognizable from what it was to where it is now, but it is that innovation is constantly changing. We are constantly looking for like, okay, what is the next? How do we adapt it? How do we put that kind of, okay, cool, we want a subscription model, let's plug that in. How do we adapt as we go? Because I just feel like the pace at which things move is so much faster.
Yeah,
And to your point, you can't stay on the hype because the hype is just going to keep you in this like anxiety, like you're going to feel like you're on a treadmill that just gets faster and faster and faster. But there
yeah,
is this adaptation and adoption that is like, it keeps you moving in, when you look back, a really cool way. But yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. It is something that, and again, we've worked with startups and scale ups, so it's like we're on board for it, and we like that a little bit. It also is a drive for us, but it is something that's unrecognizable as you look back.
yeah. And you're talking about the role of the business owner. I think the role of the business owner as a leader has never been more important because you're the one driving it,
Mm,
and you
yeah.
need to feel how your team is taking it, and you need to give them a path that feels somehow predictable, right? Because
Mm,
humans
yes.
are addicted
Oh,
to
the
stability.
predictability. Yeah.
Yeah, humans are addicted to predictability. So, we seek homeostasis. We need balance. We
Mm,
need balance. Our physiologically, we need balance.
mm,
So you need to communicate constantly and help people understand which direction you're going and what's important and what's
mm.
not important. And
I love that.
sometimes it's like, hey, here's a new tool. What do you think of it? And you might think that you're just making a comment in passing and just a suggestion, but your team might feel that they have an obligation to go and explore that tool and try to use it or make it
Mm.
work, or and maybe that tool is not good. So
Yeah,
so
it's like, oh no,
having
it
that
was just a,
conversation is like, yeah, it's
yeah.
like, why are you using it? It's like, well, have a crack at it, and but do try it. But also you guys, and I know you and Rebecca are very involved, and I think that's traits of great
Mm.
leaders, right? You get your hands dirty, you try it, like, hey, I
Mm,
did this thing, look at this, it looks really cool. I think this tool is worth something. Why don't you have a crack at it?
mm, yeah.
And get the team feeling as they're part of that journey, because there are obviously you're always trying to create some stability in your business. You don't want to be
Yeah.
reinventing the business today, but we are in a period where we need to just continually look at how we make the business better and better positioned to
Mm,
this new world. We don't all,
yeah.
nobody knows exactly where this new world is going to land, but you need to be moving towards it so that
Yeah.
hopefully you get there ahead of the others.
I love that. And I think that is the perfect way to end off. I love that you're talking about the team adoption and how you get them on board. But Fab, this has been so helpful, at least for me. I've got a lot to think about, but I just want to thank you for your time and yeah, for joining us on this little, I almost feel like it's a little excursion adventure to, yeah, deep dive into the AI world. But we really appreciate your time and just
Super.
wanted to thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Elsie. It's been great to sort of have a chance to catch up with you again. And obviously, I keep watching and following your updates, and how you guys are continuously transforming Untamed. As you said, it's probably a very different business today than it was a year ago, and that's the right track and that's the right path.
Mm,
It's the team, it's the ethos, it's the culture you're building, it's the
mm,
journey that you're creating. That is what is memorable. Remember, some of the most successful businesses in the world, they've gone through lots and lots of transformation, and this couldn't be more real than it is right now.
mm.
Lots of opportunities. Just focus on the opportunities. Don't get caught in all the noise, and
Noise.
you'll be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Fab.
Great. All right. Well, see you next time. Thanks again for having
Yeah.
me.